Buckle up, everyone. You are strapped in and ready for the Insurance Hour with me, your host, Carl Sussman, informing, educating, and entertaining Californians one policy at a time. This is Insurance Hour. I'm sitting here today with Senator Alvarado-Gil. Thank you so much for having me come to your home.
Thank you for being here.
Absolutely. It's gorgeous, and I will admit that if you see me looking away from you, I am looking at the sun because you've teased me and said I'm going to get an amazing sunset, and I am excited to see that.
Definitely. It's really beautiful to live up here. As you know, this is we're a little bit out of the way of kind of the urban centers, but there's a reason that we live up here.
I can see that. I can smell it, and you can feel it in the air. And of course, what brought us together today was the California Fair Plan.
That's right.
And the new discounts that are available. So I do want to talk with you about that, and then we'll see about looking at the actual form that the Fair Plan requires. But I wanted to just ask you in general, if I can.
Please.
What is your general feeling when you hear California Fair Plan? What is the first thing that goes through your mind from what you're hearing and from the calls you're getting and just in general?
Right. Well, I have the honor of being the only member of the state legislature that's on the Fair Plan. So when my constituents talk about the heartaches and the frustration with insurance in California, I raise my hand and I say, I get it. I understand. I'm walking in your shoes. I've lived here in the mountain for about 4 years, and I can count the fires that we've kind of navigated through: the Caldor fire, the Butte fire, Electra, and just this weekend now we have the Arrow fire nearby. So, for us, we understand that there are risks living here in the rural parts of the state, but there's certainly a lot of rewards, and it's not the Fair Plan. That's not the reward.
That's right. Well, as we were discussing before we started, the California Fair Plan, it's the organization that's there for homes that are in these areas, right? You can't price an area that's in the mountains to this extent because the price would not be something that would be affordable. So Fair Plan is there to offer the fire portion for people that live in these areas. The problem, and this is what you're alluding to, is the problems with the Fair Plan. So is it the concept or is it the execution right now that you're seeing as the problem?
Well, I think it starts from the beginning. So, I was shopping for my forever home in rural California, coming out of the Bay Area and wanting to have a place where I didn't have to move again, and a place that my grandkids can come and visit and celebrate the holidays. And so I already knew that I was looking at living more in the rural areas. And so it was my real estate agent who introduced me to the Fair Plan. And so, as a consumer...
Are you still friends?
We are.
Okay.
But, she was really great in that every time I looked at a property, she talked to me about, let's price this out. Is it going to be on the Fair Plan? Is it not going to be on the Fair Plan? And the way she described it to me was that if I can't get insurance through the traditional market, that there is this product, right, called the California Fair Plan. And that it would be a tad higher, but it was priced in a way that Californians can afford to live in rural areas of the state and still be able to insure their properties. So for me, it wasn't a deterrent until I started getting quotes. So I fell in love with this property, knowing that it was unique and knowing that I was going to look at a kind of a hefty price for insurance. But at the same time, doing the calculations with the mortgage and the taxes and the insurance, I felt like I was an informed buyer. So what I wasn't ready for was these steep increases year after year, because that to me as a consumer, I saw that there was something wrong with it right away. And now as a state legislator, I talk to my constituents, and it is enormous, the amount of increase that they are receiving in their insurance. Many who are on traditional insurance plans tell me about being canceled with very little options to buy into the traditional market, which then puts them on the Fair Plan. But we're talking about thousands of dollars a year for basic insurance, anywhere from deductibles from $5,000, $10,000, $20,000 just to be able to afford coverage on the Fair Plan. So that's kind of been my journey with the Fair Plan. And now that I have the ability to legislate and advocate for solutions, it's been at the front of my mind, at the top of my priority list.
It's everything you're saying is what we hear also, out in the field as brokers as well. It's every single day. We're losing coverage with our traditional carrier. Right. We can't get coverage anywhere else because, as we know, there is nowhere else to go right now for the most part. And they're ending up with the FAIR Plan. As it turns out, I checked with the FAIR Plan last month, almost 40 to 50% of all of the business they're writing is not even in the hills.
That's right.
It's in the flats. So, and that's not what the FAIR Plan is for, obviously, right? So people are paying these higher rates, assuming that they're somewhere that is a high risk for fire, and they're not. It doesn't work that way. What's interesting is FAIR Plan is a not-for-profit organization. So in theory, they're supposed to remain with $1 in the bank, basically, right? Everything that comes in gets paid out. So the fact that the rates continue to go up can only be because there are claims being paid out somewhere.
Right.
And that's the scary part for me, because I'm realizing that the rates that FAIR Plan is charging right now are, according to FAIR Plan, at the oversight committee meeting that happened with the FAIR Plan a month or two ago.
That's right.
The president of the FAIR Plan said that they were in need of, based on their projections, I think it was 60 or 70% increase, and they are getting 20, 23% because that's how our system works, right? And I'm thinking, wow, so the rates are as high as they are, and they're still inadequate. So I'm wondering once the private market comes back and we start to see the sustainable insurance solution parts starting to come into play, what's going to happen with the FAIR Plan? Because we know that we need to take people that don't need to be there and go to their primary market. Great. But that's not going to change anything for people that are in areas that are designed to be with the FAIR Plan and those extremely high costs. Now, this discount that came out it's one of the newer regulations that came out. I believe it was effective in January, where carriers had to submit a way that for home hardening, doing things to make your home less likely to burn, the carriers had to provide discounts. And as it turns out, FAIR Plan was the first ones to get it approved from the Department of Insurance. Coincidence?
Who knows?
I don't know. But what's interesting about it is they made it, I think, very straightforward. I wish everyone else did. There's two types of discounts. One has to do with things you can do to your home, and one has to do with things you can do around your home.
Right.
You can do all of one or all of both or one or the other, and the total discount is 14.5%.
Right.
Don't even get me started. 14.5%. I thought that was horrible when it first happened until I realized that other carriers are coming out with 0.7 for that leaf and 0.3 for that bush. It's that kind of stupid, right? So 14.5%, okay. That seems fairly legitimate, right? That will make a dent, if nothing else. So I think what'll be interesting to see is how does the enforcement work with that? I know that one of the problems, if I can say that already, is that FAIR Plan has stated, and they are going to inspect 100% of the properties that apply for the discount.
Great.
100%. Just let that sink in.
That's a lot of staffing, isn't it?
Well, yes, and they know that because they've said that you can apply for the discount, and they will give you the discount just based on your signature.
Okay.
It might take 4 months before somebody can come out and do the inspection, and if it turns out you don't qualify, they will retroactively.
Of course they will.
They'll be very good about that.
Be very good about that.
So, on the one hand, it's good because we can at least know that people are going to do things to make their home safer. I always come back to this one aspect. If you ask most people, what would you prefer, a covered claim or no claim?
Right.
Most people say a covered claim.
Absolutely.
And I don't understand the thinking. It's like a cultural problem we have. Claim means loss. That means something bad happened. Ideally, we want to avoid that, right? We want to avoid that. And the less claims that are paid, the lower the premiums become. I mean, this is how it works. But for some reason, we've gotten into this strange mentality where people are looking to try and find ways to collect on claims versus spending money to prevent them.
That's right.
Which is something we need to work on. I know there's some legislation that I've breezed through looking around on on some grants and some different programs that are being floated to try and assist homeowners in doing different types of home hardening. Are you familiar with any of those offhand?
Well, I am. See, here's the issue. So we are investing at the state level. We are investing in grants and incentives for home hardening communities, fire-wise communities, right? And we know that we're putting money in to help homeowners and business owners build defensible space and do home hardening, because we know that that works to protect properties. But we're not seeing that same level of return from landowners, homeowners doing that work. And so part of what I want to talk with you about today, Carl, as well as we walk the property, I'm going to tell you a little bit of what I've done over the past 4 years and how much it's cost. And I'm going to tell you, I'm not a mathematician, right? I went to a public school math, but I can still add and subtract, right? But when I think about 14%, it's not going to cover the cost of the investment that I've made to make sure that my property is safe and my home is safe. Does it help? Absolutely, it helps. But when we're talking about thousands of dollars investment every year to clear your property, to lay new gravel, to make repairs so that in the event a fire comes close to your home, you can actually save your investment, because this is my investment, Carl. This I'm not going anywhere from here, right?
Your forever home.
This is my forever home. And so, for me, every dollar that I put into my property or I put into my home is so that it will last my life. It will last, and hopefully, I would be able to leave it for my kids or my grandkids. But who knows? California laws are changing as well as, whether or not we'd be able to leave anything to our kids. So for now, I focused on what I can do to be a good steward of my property and of my neighbor's property. Because if I'm not doing my part here on my acres that I have, then I'm also putting my neighbors at risk. And we'll talk about that a little bit too when we walk the property.
You're a good neighbor. I can tell that. But what's interesting again is you're looking at this, I say the right way, air quotes, right way. But you are, because you're trying to you would prefer to have your home protected and then just know that I'll have inexpensive insurance and let them just pay for it if something happens. Right. Claims are bad. Right. There's no such thing. I've never talked to someone that's had a claim that's been happy about it. They might be happy because of the way the carrier deals with it, but it's always better not to have the claim. Right. And I think that concept that, yes, you're going to be spending more money to protect, you're going to be spending more money than you're getting back in an insurance premium. But how much are you actually saving in the event that there is a claim? And how much more is your home worth because it has these different layers of protection that your next door neighbor might not have, and things of that nature?
And it's not just the dwellings that are next to the property. My acres come up to state land, and you're going to see the difference between forest management that I do on my property and then what my neighbors do, and what the state does not do. So we're very fortunate that we're down off the mountain, and there's a fire tower that can actually see my property. So I feel a little bit safer there, that I'll get some notice. But as you came up the hill, you probably noticed this is a one-way gravel road, and the nearest fire hydrant is about half a mile down from my home. So just with those metrics, I've struggled to have those conversations with my insurance provider. Now, I'm also on a well, so I have access to my own water sources, right? And so one of the things that I have been told was, well, you should have above ground water storage, that you should be ready to go in case of a fire. And I said, hey, I've got a well that has a lot more water storage under my property than I do if I were to put a container of water up. So there's a couple things there that, I think about in terms of best practices. And I also understand that it's unique to every property. So I can do everything that I'm told to do by the FAIR plan, get my discount. And the reality is I'm still half an acre away from forest land that has not been managed for decades.
And so do you see that as being this, and again, I'm born and raised in California, so I can say the good, the bad, and the ugly, right? We tend to try and have things fair, right? And a little more homogenous than they might be, right? And so people that are in areas like this, having to spend more money or pay more money for insurance, like through the FAIR plan, versus someone that lives, at a fire hydrant right in the middle, or across the street from a fire station. I hear this stuff, right? I mean, everyone's got their, but I am something, right?
Yeah.
You have a well. I talked to someone earlier today, they have 2 pools. Yeah. Pinky in the air.
Right.
They have 2 pools, lots of water. Okay, right? Everyone's got something. And part of the problem right now that we're slowly moving through is the industry is not able to look at on that granular of a level to reward you for what you're doing versus your neighbor.
That's right.
We're just starting to scratch the surface of that. We used to be based on, I'm going to date myself, we would have a Thomas guide.
Oh.
Remember the Thomas guide?
That's right.
And we would turn the pages, right? And there would be lines drawn, and we would know that, below this line was going to be one price, below that line was going to be another price. It was pretty straightforward. But now, because there's so much sophistication in tools, the carriers can be so granular once they're allowed to, that they can look at your house and they can say, oh, she does have a well. Oh, she does have it cleared this side. That's what's coming. So at least I can know, because I deal with this every day.
Right.
When people are telling me these things, right? I should write a book. Everyone's got the water, right? Everyone's got something that should make it a little bit better. And I want to be able to tell them that does make a difference, and it does, but not to their pocketbook yet.
Right, not to the
And that's the point that I think we need to try and get to, and whether it be with the FAIR plan or private carriers as well, is to let industry see, what statistically makes the most sense. Believe me, if there's 2 companies and they're both looking at the same house, they're going to determine what makes more sense for them. What they're doing is more effective than what their next door neighbor is doing.
Right.
They should be able to pay less than their literal next door neighbor if their home, if they've made the investment to make those changes to make it safer.
Right. Well, I think about this too, Carl. So, my husband and I were, my district is so large, so it takes about 12 hours for me to drive around. He works about 2 hours from here, so we're in the market for a second home on the other side of the district as well. And we actually found a nice 3-bedroom, 2-bath in a neighborhood, and it is a rebuild. So it burned down 3 years ago because of some fireworks that hit the roof, burned it down to the ground. And so it's a 1989 house, which is now rebuilt. So
a new house that's even newer.
Exactly. So I think to myself, I said, okay, here you have a home, your average starter home in Central Valley, California, and that house has much more chance of burning down than my house, because one, we're not going to have fireworks up here, right? I have much more control. But every year there's illegal fireworks, right? And so you think about the risk, and it is very hard to measure apples to apples, in these situations. Now, I hear all the time, and you probably get this question, well, why don't they just move? They chose to live near the forest. They chose to live in the mountains. And, I take that question really personally, because we choose to live wherever we live, right? And, I don't say, well, you choose to live in these ticky-tacky houses that you're, within 5 foot of your neighbor. You don't choose to live in a condo where you share a wall and your neighbor has a kitchen fire and it burns your house down, right? So I think for me, we're losing connection to what for me is that California dream. That California is such a beautiful state. We have so many topographies and areas that are just, beautiful in their own ways. And, we should be able to choose where we want to live. And the choice should not be connected to a zip code that has a price tag around our insurance, right? Because insurance should not be more than your mortgage. It should not be more than the cost of utilities and food and, basic needs for your family. But yet it is turned that way for those of us who live in the mountains, right?
It's turned this way for everybody right now, because we have no competition. There's nothing. If you call 10 carriers today, you're going to get 9 that won't even answer the phone.
Right.
And the last one says, we'll get back to you. It's that bad. Right. The Department of Insurance actually put a link on their website, a consumer help link, to try and help people find carriers that are writing policies.
Really?
And I thought that was fascinating. So I had my staff call and pretend to be 3 different people in different parts of California. And of
Tricky.
all of, I think there were, at the time, I think the list had 111 companies, which to me, really? Would you like to guess how many of them even said they could quote us, not offer it, they were willing to quote it of the 111?
6.
Oh my gosh. How many phone calls did you have to make?
Well, 111 times 3 times 2 people.
Jeez.
So,
And you wonder why we get so frustrated with the FAIR Plan, right? It's because that's supposed to be the solution of last resort. That's what we consumers believe our tax dollars are going towards a government that will come up with solutions so that we can be good stewards of our land and our property and our communities, right? It boggles my mind that we're not there, right? I mean, we have so much wealth, so much richness, technology, intelligence here in California, and we just cannot figure out fire insurance, right?
it's crazy because we've been on the same trajectory with it for a long time. And I think that's the problem. And I think 30 years ago, it was a different world. It was a different climate. We didn't have what in the insurance industry, they're called 100-year events.
Okay.
Can you guess what it means?
Yeah.
Something that they price into the product because it will happen about every 100 years. And we've had 9 of them in the last decade.
Wow.
So this is countrywide. So this is something that has to change, right? It doesn't do anybody any good to have a carrier write coverage and then go bankrupt when there's a large fire.
Exactly.
What does that do any good, right? It's not sustainable and it's ridiculous. So it's interesting because in California law today, there's a phrase that says that premiums that the Department of Insurance approves have to be adequate and not excessive.
Right, that's true.
Which is so perfect in words.
Arbitrary?
It's so arbitrary, but it's so perfect, right? You can make a little money, but you can't be a monster about it, right? But we're so far from that because we don't have carriers involved in that process, right? Because the market will do that.
Right.
The market will do that. So what do you see as being, FAIR Plan aside, I assume you're familiar with the sustainable insurance strategy and all these things that are slowly coming. And I say slowly because we've been sounding the alarm on this for probably 3 years. And it really fell on pretty much deaf ears in this, as far as legislation went and the Department of Insurance. And I say we. I'm a member of a lot of different agent groups and broker groups, and everyone used to joke and say, nothing will happen until some senator's daughter can't buy a house because of insurance. Then all of a sudden, something's going to happen, right? And I don't know what happened, but we did reach that tipping point somehow where all of a sudden it's front page news. All of a sudden, you're hearing about it, that they're going to change things and the laws are going to happen. And the governor said, you must fix this, and all these things started happening. And so now it's like a big boat, right? How long does it take to turn?
You're going to say the Titanic because it feels like that.
It does feel like that. I was just making the analogy that when you've got a big boat moving forward, it takes a long time to change the direction. And it feels like that's what we're trying to do. But do you see these changes that are being proposed as positive to get carriers to come and start competing in California again?
Well, I'm hopeful. I talk to industry leaders all the time, and we have very authentic conversations. But we talk about the FAIR Plan in terms of wildfires, but it's all encompassing because when you look at California, and certainly I've experienced this just in the last 4 years, we have extreme weather patterns every season. It's like, I don't know what's going to hit me up here, right? And I am below the snow line here. And that was by design when I was choosing my property, fairly, isolated. But I lost a vehicle in a mudslide. I think it was, the last year when we had the big rains and right down my driveway, right? And we've had Snowmageddon, It's like, again, I'm below the snow line, yet we've had Snowmageddon.
Well, the snow melts down, right? You get it.
So, I had to do roof repairs, gutter repairs, once the snow kind of melted. But particularly in my district, so in the 13 counties that I represent, I was looking at walls of snow in Mono County, 40 plus feet high. I mean, the town of Mammoth Lakes that I represent was under a snow wall. And they had asked the federal government for help. And the response was, well, you need to close your town down because we don't know how to deal with this. That's where we are in California, that we don't even know how to price extreme weather that is impacting our ability to keep our businesses open, our ability to keep our crops healthy. I mean, the amount of flooding that we saw. So it's not just fire. It really is this extreme weather that's causing property damage, business issues with keeping our businesses open, and it's all encompassing. So, even though wildfire is what people talk about that don't live in the mountains, don't live in the hills, right? It is all encompassing. I can even use the what happened in Capitola and Santa Cruz with the waves, the ocean waves that absolutely decimated the coast. And I can say the same thing. Well, you live by the coast, so you should be paying more insurance. But the reality is, we can point fingers all we want, but until we look at the global issue that California is a large state with a lot of different weather patterns, a lot of different topographies, then we're not going to solve this crisis. Even though we're trying to turn this ship slowly but surely, we have to be able to talk about regions that are impacted by snow, regions that are impacted by flooding, and understand that as a state, we all have to absorb the burden of the casualties. Why? Because we all enjoy being Californians and we use our state as our background, as our playground. Our weekend trips to wine country, well, that's where we live, right? Our seasonal trips to ski country. That's why we have people living in the mountain regions, so that we can have hospitality and restaurants and all those amenities that the Bay Area and Southern California loves when they come and visit us. I mean, I love going to the coast and knowing that we've got our boutique hotels right there on the sand in Capitola that I can enjoy. I don't want them to go away. And I know, Californians don't want our ski resorts and our lakes and our hiking mountains to go away. So that means, to me, we're all in this together. So we have to have solutions that we're not pointing fingers at each other, but we're taking care of our state as one. And that's our responsibility as legislators.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, in just a few moments, the Window to the Magic podcast show will begin.
My name is Patrick.
My name is Calvin.
I'm Mouseketeer Gray.
My name is Paul, and I will be your guide through the wonderful world of Disney sound experiences.
This show is a weekly trip into the world of the Disney theme parks and resorts.
And this is the place where you get to use your ears to surround yourself with the magic.
For your safety, please remain seated while listening to the windowtothemagic.com podcast.
Maybe there's a name for this, something like Disnotic obsession. Please visit windowtothemagic.com for more information, or you can find us on Apple Podcasts and in the iHeartMedia app.
I'll throw you a curveball just for fun.
Great.
Are you familiar with Adam Schiff's bill that he introduced?
I'm not, but I'm excited. Tell me more.
This slipped under the radar.
Okay.
Maybe by design, but he introduced a bill, and everyone knew, eventually. But not now. Good luck, right? Okay. Good luck with anything, let alone something like this. And it basically creates a catastrophe reinsurer at the federal level.
Really?
And it would roll in everything from FEMA. It would eliminate FEMA's flood insurance. It would eliminate the California Earthquake Authority. It would eliminate the California Fair Plan. It would eliminate the wind organizations on the East Coast. It basically was going to create a reinsurance program, which is basically where insurance carriers insure themselves, right? If they're saying, look, I want this risk, but not all of it, right, they can take, for example, 50% of the risk, sell it to another insurance company at a premium, and then they share in the exposure. That's reinsurance in a nutshell. Okay. And this was going to create a federal reinsurance pool. Great. So carriers pay to play. They have to write a big check, right? And the money goes in there. And then as these potential uninsurable events would happen, right, they would be able to dip into that and know that they have a maximum exposure up to whatever it is. Right. And then this pool would kick in. And it's fascinating because it went completely under the radar, and it had dates on it. It even lists what year FEMA would be eliminated, what year it went right down the line. Like mum's the word, like nobody has heard a thing about it.
Is it still alive?
I don't think it went. I'm not a politician, so I don't know what the right phrasing is. I think it was introduced and then said, yeah, another time. Like, stick a pin in it. We're not even going to create a committee for this at this point.
Stale
right?
somewhere, so, okay.
Yeah, I think it's got to be stealing. But I think eventually, to your point, there are certain exposures, whether it be earthquake, fire, wind, flood. I mean, somehow we realized, oddly enough, that of all the kinds of natural disasters, flood insurance was one that we get the feds involved in. Why flood?
Why flood?
Why flood? I mean, I get it. They happen a lot.
Right.
But there are so many other big things that happen. How about tornadoes?
Yeah.
hurricanes, right?
We had tornadoes out here, didn't we?
We're getting everything now.
California.
Tropical storms, we're having everything now, right?
Right.
But there are innately some risks that private carriers can't insure because there's just no way to price it.
Yeah.
Well, you can't price it, right? I mean, you could price anything for $1 under the premium, right? Well, what's the point if you're not going to have the money to do it? Right. So, on the federal level, I personally think, and I'm curious what your take is, on a federal level, do you think that it would make sense, the general concept, to be able to say to private carriers, look, we want you to write the earthquake, the flood, the wildfire. We want you to write all this stuff with the knowledge that you're going to have a maximum exposure of whatever that might be.
Right.
And at that point, you're going to be able to have the backing of the feds and this insurance pool that's there for disasters.
I think that's a great solution. So it was about a year and a half ago when we had the extreme weather that hit us from December through March.
It's sad. I'm thinking, which one now?
Which one? Right. So of the 13 counties that I represent, 11 were under FEMA assistance. And so that is an incredible amount of exposure in one region of population in California. But when you look at the level of loss that we sustained, I mean, it was enormous. And it was everything that you talked about, flooding. I don't think we had tornadoes up here, but I was down south. And we were just feeling it across the whole state. And I remember some of my East Coast friends kind of joking. We're like, hey, we thought you just got earthquakes over there. I'm like, well, I guess we're diversifying our catastrophic incidents. But, the reality is that we have, again, the intelligence, the technology, the wealth to solve this problem. We have to have the political will. So my team is going to D.C. to advocate around certain issues. Wildfire mitigation is one of them. I'm excited about this new egg that you tossed my way. You're making a shift fan of me, out of me. But I'm definitely going to poke a little bit more in that area and see if I can't revive some of the interest. Because I mean, again, California is such a big player in the world economy.
So now that you know about the SHIFT bill, and it's something that's interesting, and I'm, of course, intrigued because nobody knows about this, it seems like everyone understands the general idea that there are certain risks that are too big for one particular carrier or 10 or whatever for private industry to handle. So since now in California, we get to see all of them, it seems like, it would make sense, being the 5th largest economy on the planet, right? Carriers want to be here. We are every insurance company's biggest dream and biggest nightmare at the same time, right? They are literally chomping at the bit to be able to come back and start writing business because that's how insurance companies make money. They sell insurance, right? It's like Toyota makes cars so they can sell them, right? Insurance companies write insurance so they can sell insurance. And right now in California, the fact that they're not speaks volumes.
Right.
So I think as soon as we're at a place where we're going to be able to see the carriers come back, when they can start properly underwriting and they can start competing, I think we're going to see a leveling of premiums. There's no reason we wouldn't, right? We're seeing premiums crazy high when there's no competition. We know how competition works.
Right.
Even though you and I went to public school, we know that when there's competition, prices go down. Right. That's what we need to really work for. And personally, as perfect or imperfect as the current proposals are with the sustainable insurance strategy, my mantra every day is not to let perfection be the enemy of better or good or whatever the actual expression is. I'm sure I butchered it. But you see what I'm saying?
I get the concept.
You get the idea? Yeah. So what I'd love to do, if you don't mind, is let's take a little bit of time. Let's look at some of the work that you've done around your house, so we can talk about it and go over what potentially all of these changes would save you, and if you don't mind sharing a rough idea of how much it cost you to do.
Right. Hey, let's do it.
Okay, so this is the form from the California Fair Plan, and this is the form that you would fill out as an insured person to certify that all of these items are done. I'll also put a link to this so you can see it, and it's all or nothing. If you want to get one discount, you have to do all of these things to the structure. If you want to get the discount for surrounding, you have to do all of these things. You can't do a few of them. So let's walk around and look at all of them. Let's start out with what is around the surroundings. So the first thing is cleared vegetation and debris from under decks. Do we have any decks to check on?
I do. So I've got a front porch, and you'll see that there's probably, some poison oak growing under there, a little bit here and there, but for the most part, we do get it cleared out. And then behind the house, we have the larger deck.
Okay. And what's next on the list?
Next one is,
I'm sticking this right in your face.
Yeah. Class A fire-rated roof, meaning composition shingle, stone, concrete, or clay tile, or metal.
Okay. What type of roof do we have here?
This is a composite. This roof's about 15 years old.
Okay, so the question becomes, is it a Class A roof or not?
Yeah, that I don't know.
I don't either.
But see, if you look at it here, Carl, I mean, even if you look at, because my house is made of cedar, right? It's like, it really doesn't matter what kind of roof I have, because
Right,
it's like a matchstick box.
Don't say that out loud.
Edit that out.
Don't say that.
It is kind of like dip candles in wax.
It is.
You're making it worse. All right, and the next one we have is removal of combustible sheds and other outbuildings from the immediate surroundings of the home to at least a distance of 30 feet. So, are there any detached structures that are obvious and close by?
Oh yeah, that's the side of the house where we throw all the
all right, let's check it out.
all the things that we don't want to deal with.
Let's talk about earthquakes for a minute. Look, we know we live in earthquake country here in California. Powerful, devastating earthquakes have happened here before, and science says that they will happen again. They can't tell us exactly when, they can just tell us that it is going to happen. Count on it. Prepare for it. Did you know that earthquakes are not covered by your homeowner's insurance policy? You need a separate policy to give you the peace of mind that you will be able to recover without getting financially wiped out the next time we get hit with a big one. There's a great company here in California that will provide you with earthquake coverage you need at a price you can afford. That company is GeoVera. I have a policy through GeoVera. I really like how easy it is to choose from all of their great coverage options, backed by the financial strength that lets me know that they will be here for me when I need them the most. Go to getquake.com/insurance hour to learn more. That's getquake.com/insurance hour. Make sure you're ready for the day when the ground shakes again.
So this is the only side of the house that actually has everything that you can actually, all the combustibles, as you can see, right? So this is going to be part of my honey-do list.
Okay, so this, I can say, as the non-inspector, fair plan inspector that I am, they would probably look at and say, this is a shed.
Right.
And they want it how many feet away from the house?
5 feet.
Okay, that's doable.
Yeah.
That's doable.
Yeah. But
Okay.
all this is part of my chicken coop project. So all of this is going to be chopped up, reused for the chicken coop down the hill. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then while we're back here, this is the deck.
This is the other deck.
And I know that's on the list. It talks about cleaning out what's under the deck.
Yeah. So take a look, see what you can see. Yeah,
It looks pretty darn nice to me.
Yeah. We've got probably some skunks and some other critters down there, though.
Well, I don't think we can do anything about
Yeah.
that. What they don't want to see is stuff.
Right.
They don't want to
Right.
see stuff. All right,
Yeah.
what's next on our list?
All right. We're on the second list here. Defensible space compliance, including trimming trees and removal of brush and debris from the yard.
Okay. Now, what they're looking for primarily on this is that the trees are not touching your roof. There's supposed to be a minimum of I believe, 5-foot gap between the roof and the house. And you've got way more than that.
Yeah, I think maybe that tree is the one we're going to have to...
In the front, let's see.
Yeah.
But on the back, you're
The back looks great.
And you know how I know? Because that's the tree that I always see the squirrels jumping from to get
from
onto
the
my
roof?
Yeah. So if the squirrels can jump onto my roof, then
They
I know
can
I need
jump.
to.
They can jump further than you need to trim the tree. I can promise
Yeah.
you. We have. Oh my God, they jump. I swear they'll jump 6-7 feet.
Yeah.
So yeah, this one is close.
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure this whole tree right here is going to have to be sacrificed because, yeah.
Or at least some of it. Okay, what's next?
Okay. Let's see here. The 5-foot ember resistant zone around the home, including fencing within 5 feet. So this we actually did a really good job because, clearing around the home, we did more than 5 feet. But I was told that having the wood chips doesn't count. So it actually has to be
What's interesting is I'm looking at these and I'm wondering if they would consider these, because these are obviously within 5 feet of the house, would these be considered combustible?
Yeah, interesting.
They might be.
They might. Yeah.
Not sure. These are questions we're going to get answers to now.
We will.
What's next?
All right, 6 inches at all the bottom of the all exterior walls made of non-combustible material. Well, I know when the house was constructed, they did put the pond stones, more than 6 inches.
Okay.
Okay. Is it real pond stone?
I don't know what pond stone should feel like.
I don't know.
Doesn't it feel like rock?
It feels
but it
like
doesn't feel.
Could be real rock. They cut them in half and then.
Oh, that could be. Okay.
Yeah.
Again, I don't know.
But there are these enclosed eaves, and let's see here.
Well, you don't have any eaves.
Oh, here. Ember and fire resistant vents. That's those, right? Or is that something different?
These are the lower vents, and then there's a chimney arrestor that you need to have.
Yeah, I do have those wire ones up there.
Yep, these are closed.
Okay.
Good.
Upgraded windows, multi-pane. So I've got these windows around the whole house, and it is multi-pane.
But was it a multi-pane to get these windows?
They came with the house.
Oh, well, okay, then it was easy. Okay. Great, okay.
Okay, and let's see. The enclosed eaves. What did we find with the enclosed eaves?
They're enclosed.
They're good.
Yeah.
Yep.
Are the eaves the same thing as gutters?
No, gutters that's something else. That's what's on top. And those you want to clean out because first
of
they get clogged from the rain.
Green, that's the gutter, and then this is the eave. The
the
underside.
under part.
Right.
The under.
Oh, I see. That's an eave.
Yep.
Okay. See, learned
Mine
something
are
new.
like the 2x4s come down. You can see them because I was in 06 before they did the 09. The 07
that's
was
right.
the newest, so
I'm with
I
you.
have
I know
the
what it
older
is.
code, which is not good. But you're good because yours are enclosed.
Yep. Your matchstick, as he
My
put it,
matchstick house
the code.
is
Thanks for that,
enclosed.
yeah.
Yes.
Enclosed.
Yeah.
What's the next? What's next down there?
That's it.
That was it?
Yeah.
Okay, so you get an idea now that we've walked the house. I have to tell you, I've never personally gone around a house and gone line by line the way we did to really see what that looks like. It's eye-opening. What is your takeaway?
Well, you helped me also figure out what I still need to do to get this discount, because again, I look at this every day, but to have your lens and say, hey, have you thought about this? So that was helpful for me as well. But I know I've got to get my honeydew list going. So when my husband comes over, he'll have some more work to do.
I don't think it's me telling you. I think it's a matter of me just looking at the list, because these are things that some of them are common sense, and some of them you read them and you think, oh yeah. That makes a lot of sense. Now I know what that means exactly. Well, I wanted to thank you so much for having me visit you here at your home. I really appreciate it. We'll definitely stay in touch. And if there's anything else that you want to make sure that everyone is aware of, now's your chance. Open platform.
Oh, thank you so much, Carl. And I just got to ask, was it worth the sunset? Because that, to me, is going to be the greatest takeaway.
It absolutely was. And even though it was through this tree, and I tried so hard not to keep leaning away so I could see it, it was spectacular. And I'm colorblind. So if I'm seeing something color-wise that's amazing, it must be spectacular.
Well, yeah, it's going to still, you got some smoke in there as well. But yes, you should be able to get a nice view up here.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Marie Alvarado-Gil, for having me here.
Thank you.
And I look forward to talking with you some more.
Thank you. Anytime, you'll have to come and visit us again.
For sure.
All right.
Thank you.
In today's uncertain times, navigating the California insurance marketplace can feel like a journey through uncharted waters. That's where Sussman Insurance Agency steps in, guiding you with the wisdom of experience and the care of family. We at Sussman Insurance Agency understand the complexities of finding the right coverage in these challenging times. With decades of expertise and a heritage spanning 2 generations, we're more than just insurance agents. We're your trusted advisors, your navigators in the sea of insurance options. Treating our clients like family isn't just a phrase, it's our commitment. We listen, we understand, and we provide solutions tailored to your unique needs. Why? Because to us, you're a part of the Sussman family. Don't let the tides of uncertainty sway you. Anchor your trust in Sussman Insurance Agency. Call us today at 877-411-5200 or visit sussmaninsurance.com. Have specific questions? Drop us an email at sales@sussmaninsurance.com. At Sussman Insurance Agency, we're not just in the business of policies. We're in the business of peace of mind. Sussman Insurance Agency, navigating your insurance life together.
It was unbelievable having a chance to sit and spend time with Senator Alvarado-Gil. Once again, I'm Carl. This is the Insurance Hour, and we're wrapping up after our interview with Senator Marie Alvarado-Gil. I did get the opportunity to visit with her at her home and go over many issues, including the California Fair Plan. Before I sum it all up for you, just remember that if you do have questions, you can always reach out to me at 559-656-0317 or send your questions to questions@insurancehour.com. For immediate insurance assistance, you can also dial pound 250, use the keyword insurance, and get connected with an agent right away. So after my visit and meeting with the senator, I realized, I shouldn't say I realized for the first time, but I realized firsthand what it's like for people that live in these rural areas. I live in the city. Of course, I insure people and I talk with people all the time that live in the mountains and areas like that. But to actually sit down and hear their experience firsthand was enlightening for me. I did understand that people do have choices, of course, with where they decide they want to live. But people that choose to live in those areas are looking to find a fair and adequate way to be insured and cost-effective as well. And currently, with the current insurance crisis in California, certainly that is becoming increasingly difficult. So Senator Alvarado-Gil did discuss the challenges and the risks of living in the rural areas, including dealing with multiple fires like the Caldor, the Butte, and the Electra fires. She had to deal with those. She had to evacuate from those. That's real life. She also talked about how there's been a significant increase of costs for homeowners insurance based on where she lives. Now, we're seeing those costs and those increases throughout the state of California. And it is true for sure that people that are in the higher fire risk areas are seeing an even higher risk and an even higher increase in the premiums that they're paying exponentially. So people that are on, for example, the California Fair Plan and a secondary DIC policy, they're seeing significant increases on both of those policies, sort of a double whammy. She also spoke about the traditional markets canceling policies and pushing more people to the California Fair Plan, which we've talked about at length, and again, happening as well. People that are supposed to be with the California Fair Plan are there because there are no other markets for them. However, the design of the Fair Plan, once again, is to try and get people there that have no options for a reasonable reason, meaning they're in an area that the private industry simply cannot serve. Right now, because of the lack of standard insurance available through the private market, everyone seems to be flocking to the California Fair Plan because there simply is no option. Remember, the California Fair Plan is a nonprofit organization, and it's meant to be there as a last resort, not the only resort, not the first resort. And that does seem to be what is happening, again, because of the shortage that we're seeing. Going forward, we were talking specifically about home hardening and things that can be done to lower the price of the insurance that people have that live in these areas. We did take the actual form from the California Fair Plan, and we did go through each and every line and each and every discount that's available to see what that looks like and what that would cost to do and what the realistic outlook can be for someone that does that. It is a 14.5% discount, so it's a significant discount, but as we could see from walking around the senator's home, it's not trivial work to be done. And some of it may not even be able to be done. You'll remember, if you watch the entire video, that there are areas that are very close to her home that are owned by the state of California. Well, she certainly does not have jurisdiction to go and start trimming trees in that area, right? So that points out a bit of some of the challenges that people have when they're trying to be compliant, but at the same time, they're faced with either neighbors that have, I don't want to say their stuff, but neighbors that aren't maybe taking as good care of their property. Maybe they're not clearing the brush as much as you might want to. And you're in essence not able to get discounts because the neighbor is close enough where it's affecting what you're able to do to qualify for discounts. We also talked about how the state is investing in grants and incentives for home hardening and for fire-wise communities to try and protect people. So again, talk about fire-wise communities. If you're not familiar with it, do a quick online search and you will definitely find it. And see if your community is willing to step up and do the things that are required to become a fire-wise community. It does absolutely make a significant difference. Now, there are also challenges for different insurance carriers in different regions of California. So depending on where you are, just as the senator was, she's having certain conditions and certain problems to deal with. And people in other areas, just because they're in a, quote, fair plan zone, which, by the way, there isn't a fair plan zone, in an area, let's say, that is simply above average for the risk of fire, they're going to face different potential issues, different potential challenges in obtaining insurance. We also talked briefly about Adam Schiff's proposed federal reinsurance program, and that's something that we're going to talk about more on future shows, and it was fascinating to talk to the senator about it because it's something that's not in the discussion phases, right? People aren't hearing about it. They're not talking about it. As I've said previously, I think that there's no question that it's just a matter of time. It might be a few years, it might be up to a decade, but eventually we are going to reach a place where we realize that there are certain catastrophic risks that the private industry simply can't afford, right? We can try and force them, but it doesn't do anybody any good to force a carrier to write coverage on something that they either can't price for in a way that's affordable, and then they end up without having money to pay the claim. That doesn't do anybody any good. We also did talk about additional legislation that Senator Alvarado-Gil is working on and championing. Let's get this word right. Championing. Tell me how to pronounce that. Why can't I seem to get that out? Championing. I give up. And with that, let me just sum it all up. I had an incredible time meeting with the senator. I had a great time being at her home. I thank her so much for allowing me to spend that time with her, to have her open up her home, her personal life, her environment where she lives, to try and help consumers see how she's dealing with the same issues that many of her constituents are dealing with. It's also, I want to thank her again and her staff for making that all possible. It was a learning experience for me. It was a learning experience for her, I'm sure, as well. And I look forward to seeing how it transpires when it reaches the California Fair Plan. Remember, the goal of the visit was for her to fill out that form, that special form for the California Fair Plan, to apply for the 14.5% discounts. We will discuss that on a further show to see how that transpired. And with that, we will leave you. Thank you once again for listening. This is Insurance Hour. I am your host, Carl Sussman. Again, reach me anytime, 559-656-0317. Send an email to questions@insurancehour.com. Remember, you could also dial pound 250, use the keyword insurance, and be transferred to an agent right away. Stay safe. Do everything you can. Look for those discounts. Do the best you can to find the best coverage you can and you need. And remember, everybody, stay safe. I do want to thank all of you for taking the time to listen today. I know insurance is not necessarily the most sexy concept. It's not the most exciting thing in the world. It is important that you understand what it is you're getting, what you should be looking for, red flags, you name it. You just need to know more than you used to. Things are more complicated than they used to be. If you have any questions, please reach out to me directly. You can email your questions to questions@insurancehour.com or call and leave a voicemail at 559-656-0317. Educating and entertaining Californians, one insurance policy at a time. This is Insurance Hour. This show is dedicated to Shamrock Papa.